Relationships aren't always sunshine and rainbows. Just like in nature, you can't have rainbows without a little rain.
Journey with us,
Shani Goodson
and Dr. Sunjata as we share stories and insights about our thriving, unconventional love life and our unique take on relationships and consensual non-monogamy. What's happening, y'all?
Hey.
Welcome back to another episode of Sunshine and Rainbows. We have another interview episode that we're excited to share with you all today with a special guest. And we're so excited that you all are here with us once again. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And also, I'd like to go ahead and welcome our guest, Miss Chaneé Jackson Kendall. And Chaneé is someone that I met in this Atlanta polyamory community. She was someone who was in the group that we've referenced so many times, in this podcast called Poly Black and Dating. And very quickly for me, Chaneé just jumped out as someone who had a very bubbly, dynamic personality, someone who had a heart for helping and teaching others, someone that might, clap back if someone came off wrong in the group. She was protective of the space, protective of our community, protective of polyamory in really dope, dynamic ways. And just someone that when I got to start meeting her and being around her in person, her personality was just infectious. I just love being around her. I respect, her energy and the way she moves through the space in the world and how she's so loud and proud about being polyamorous and sharing her journey. And I've been able to learn so many things from her. So I'm so excited to have her with us today.
And the way she values community, always appreciate that. And, she does a ton of coaching and like group, it's like, it's not therapy, but it's therapy, it's therapeutic. So yeah, I always appreciate you. She's actually pretty local to us. I feel like, we gotta make this little local community hang out more.
Right. I love knowing that y'all are like a phone call and 10 minutes away if I need you.
Exactly.
Definitely, for
Exactly.
sure.
So welcome, Chaneé. Anything you want to share with the people that we may have left out that you want them to know about you right up
Well,
front?
that was a pretty dope introduction. But just to kind of add some more flavor to it, I have been polyamorous. I've identified as non-monogamous since 2009. I've been identifying with polyamory for about 15 years. And I have been living openly polyamorously since 2011. So that's something that polyamory is absolutely having a moment. And I know that's something that y'all have like really talked about on the podcast. But I tell people very clearly that I am not new to this. I am true to this. And not even in my open discussion of polyamory is something that I have been doing professionally since 2017. So I think it's always really important to there are lots of ways that people can become experts in their field. And so before I speak, I always like to share that I am both, this is something that I do both professionally and personally, and have been doing both of those things for quite some time.
Love it. Thank you.
So like, let's get right into it. Where are you actually from? And like,
Okay.
where are you currently living?
So I am a born and raised ATLian.
Hey.
I was raised in the city limits of Atlanta and lived in the city limits of Atlanta until I moved to Douglasville. And so Atlanta is home for me. I absolutely love to travel, but my roots are right here in Georgia. My family on both sides are right here. It's where I've chosen to continue to build my community that my parents began building for me, and where my polycule is raising our child. So world traveler, you're gonna see me in all the countries and all the other cities, but I'm always coming back to home base.
Love
So
it.
that is very like central to who I am as a person, because no matter what, no matter where you see me, whether I'm in professional mode, family mode, lover mode, the Atlanta is gonna pop out. If you offer me like a 10-piece flats, it's always gonna be a yes for me.
I love it. I love it. And for people who are watching or listening, Douglasville, I like to say is like 30 minutes west of, downtown Atlanta, but
Yeah.
literally minutes from like the city limits of Atlanta. the outer city limits of Atlanta. So it's in the
Yeah, I
metro
hit the
Atlanta
city limits
area.
in like 5 or 6 minutes. So
Yeah,
we're close to the city without having to pay the ridiculous taxes. So here we are.
yeah, yeah.
I love that. I always say like Atlanta has become this kind of like black mecca for so many things, including polyamory. I feel like there's the most polyamorous people, polyamorous people here. Um, what are like some of the memories you have growing up and like the relationships you saw, like the adults in your life
Oh,
have?
absolutely. I think so. I was raised in a village, right? And I think that, for context, I'm 38, and I think that elder millennials like me, are one of the last generations who were raised in as a black person, I was raised with aunties and uncles. And most of my life, I didn't even know the difference between the aunties that were actual siblings of my parents and those
Mhm.
that were not, right? But it was a very village mentality. And those people who aided in my raising are still parts of my life and my child's life today, right? So my parents had close, deep relationships with other adults. Now, my parents are staunchly monogamous. They have been actually, we are celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary this year. So I think that one of the things that was foundational to who I am as a person is long-lasting relationships and what it takes to build, not just to build, but also to maintain long-lasting relationships. And my parents were always adopting people, right? So I have siblings who are not my parents' birth siblings. Some are legally adopted, some are not. And then I can see the influence that my aunts and uncles have had in who I am as a person today, right? So
Mhm.
although I was also raised um, very staunchly Christian, and I no longer share those views, this very baseline of like what family means to me and how much energy we put into building a community is absolutely something that was passed down to me from my grandmother and from my mom and dad.
Love it, love it. So do you feel like those memories or those experiences impacted your path to polyamory in any way?
Oh, absolutely. I think it was a very quick jump for me. Like, then I think that what my parents taught me is that family is what you say it is, right? The people that you choose, that you show up for you, that show up for you, that's your family.
Hmm.
And as I was starting to grow up, I didn't choose polyamory. I fell in love with two people and I didn't want to have to choose. That's really what happened to me. And I realized that there was actually a framework wherein I did not have to choose.
Okay.
And so for me, it was like the relationships happened. And then I was like, how do I make this not choosing a way of life, right? How do I
Mm.
make it so that why is it that we can have multiple children, we can have multiple friends, we can have multiple of everything but lovers?
Mhm.
And I think even for me, um, when I was forming my adult relationships, that was at a point where some of the relationships that I had been observing my whole life, the marriages, people were getting divorced, right?
Yeah.
And this was after 15 or 20 years of
Mhm.
long marriages that produced children that were very happy. And
Yeah.
so some people would look at that as a failure, right? But for me, I'm like, is that a failure or is that just has that relationship's time ended, right?
Right.
Maybe that relationship was for that period of life.
Yeah.
And I think I saw everyone around me being able to accept that you can have multiple, like that serial monogamy was okay, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
People
if
accepted
serial
that.
monogamy is okay,
Right.
what if I just want to have those relationships happen in my life concurrently?
Yeah.
So once I started doing research and realizing that is a thing, right? When I first identified as polyamorous in 2011, there were very few people who looked like us who
Hmm.
were openly polyamorous. And so it was a struggle. It was very underground. It was very much a community, Facebook groups and like Reddit posts where you were finding people like us. And it wasn't like, there weren't huge conferences and stuff like that. And so that shaped how I came to polyamory and how I started to become involved in the professional side of polyamory for sure.
Interesting. Interesting. I love it. I love how that unfolded for you. Um, you kind of gave some a lot of insight into where I was going with my next question. I want to go just kind of, I guess, give more chronological details. Like, was there a point in your, like, say, early dating life in your teens and 20s where you were like happily monogamous and just dating? Like, when did you come into the space of like, I'm in love with two people? Like, where was that in terms of chronologically in your journey? And
Okay, so
so yeah.
notably, my sisters and my parents will look back, have looked back, I know.
Mhm.
There was a time when I was 13 and I very openly had two boyfriends. Everybody knew about it. It was fine.
Okay.
But then I think I tried very hard between the ages of 16 and 20. I tried very hard to be who my parents wanted me to be,
Okay.
right? And so because I enjoyed then and thankfully still enjoy now a very healthy and positive relationship with my family. And I just wanted it to be who they wanted me to be, right? So
Hmm.
I dated the in the way they wanted me to do, right? Dating towards marriage and not having sex until marriage and like all of these things were things that I tried very hard to be and to do. And honestly, what the deal breaker for me was I have never ever thought that I was straight. Like never.
Okay.
I remember being like 6 or 7 and like knowing I like girls and wondering if I liked boys.
Hmm.
And so at 21, even though I was in a relationship with my now husband, I knew that I was queer and I knew that there was no way under the framework that my family worshiped that I would ever be accepted. And I realized that that was not a life I wanted to sign up for.
Hmm.
So even though I wasn't in a queer relationship, I knew that I was bisexual. And I wanted to be able to be me. And so I am a person who is very I do a lot of internal processing and then changes may feel very sudden to other people because I've been going over it in my head and then
Mm,
I wake up and I'm
Relatable.
like,
that's so me too.
I don't want to do this no more, right? So
Yeah.
I had a very much like I had lived with my parents until I was 21. And
Hmm.
I woke up one day and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I moved out.
Hmm.
I wrote them a letter. I was like, I can't do this. Um, so even my now husband and I started dating in 2009 officially. We met in 2005. We've been consistently in a relationship since 2009. And very quickly, the majority of our relationship has been non-monogamous because less than a year after we started in a relationship, I was living and working in Atlanta and he was living and working in Southern California. And so we were 23 years old at the time. So non-monogamy was easy. Like it was like,
Yeah.
I'm not about to go without sex. Like it's just not happening. Like that is not even a setup for us to have the relationship that we want to have, right?
Right.
And so
Right.
if our relationship is more than sex, if we have sex with other people, we'll be fine.
Right.
And then we quickly
Such a
both,
mature life view, by the way. Such a
well, it
mature.
was, remember, I had waited a really long time to have sex, right?
Right.
So we're only 2 years in this thing, and we're not about to, we're not cutting me off. Like that's what we're not doing. And again, I was very new to being openly queer, right? And so that
Mhm.
was something that I wanted to have the space to explore.
Sure.
My husband has always been supportive of that journey for me. But we quickly realized that emotionless sex was not either one of our bag. It just wasn't really, like even if I'm in a sex forward relationship, I want to have the freedom to spend time and to build passion and all that stuff. And so once we got into a relationship, we both started dating the same person. And 3 weeks in, like not 3 weeks into the relationship, but about 3 weeks at one point we realized she hadn't left our house. And we were like, she has a key. She hasn't left. We're doing everything together. I think we have a girlfriend. Like this is really the like us realizing like I think we have a girlfriend. And
Hmm.
so for us it was like a work back. Like, okay, what does this mean? Right? We had been in a place where we're just having fun and having sex. And then, whoa, this is more than that. So what does
Got it.
this look like? And baby, oh, the ways we fucked up. Right? Like we made a whole bunch of mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that for me in my journey, I have made every single, I'm sure there are new mistakes, right? But all of the common tropes, I've been there. I've done
Yeah.
all the acting out. What I
Mm-hmm.
did
Mm-hmm.
do was I moved very quickly through that stuff
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, I know that I want multi-relating for my life, but this level of like drama and emotional upheaval
Mm,
is not what I want for my life.
mm-hmm.
Right.
So how can I move past that, right? How do we
Mm-hmm.
get to the point where we're able to do this and it's more the background for our lives as opposed to the central point of our lives,
Yeah.
right? So I started doing research, right? And so as I started doing research, I realized that a lot of the information that was available was not culturally competent for Black people.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of conversations that don't take our unique cultural things into mind,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
right? Like a lot of, and y'all know, I'll be biting my tongue, but a lot of white polyamorous people like living on top of each other. That's just not something that people in our culture are going to do, right? And so for me, even though for those of you who are new to me or don't know me, we there are three adults who live in my household. So we have been doing that for the past decade. But
Mm-hmm.
also we have another co-parent who does not live with us but lives nearby. So we have, what does it look like for one family to exist in multiple households, right? What are
Mm-hmm.
the ways that we exist as a community? And then what are the ways that we do things separately and differently?
Sure.
Um, we've had to navigate a lot of like, how do we deal with our respective families, right?
Right. Right.
Because our child has four sets of grandparents and four whole different families. And
Wow.
that's just our blood family, right? So that has been like something that we are doing a lot of learning and now educating about.
Hope you're enjoying this episode. Let's take a quick break to tell you about something that we've been working on.
We're excited to announce our course and coaching program, Relationship Bliss, where we help polyamorous people transform their relationships into highly compatible, peaceful, deeply aligned, and blissful partnerships.
We do this by sharing techniques for effective communication, deeper connection, and conflict resolution. The program offers a self paced course with 5 learning modules, 25 training videos, and live virtual coaching sessions with us, Shani and Sunjata.
Learn more at go-growdialogue.com.
Thanks for listening. Now back to the show.
So you kind of talked about how your family is or your parents are staunchly monogamous and you were raised like staunchly Christian. Like, did you get a lot of pushback when you were open about this, or are y'all just really close and they were like, it's fine? Like, how was that process for you, like coming out, you know?
So my parents raised an adult. They raised me to be a fully functioning, fully self-supporting adult who is very firm in who she is as a person. I have never had a conversation with my parents about being polyamorous. I have never had a conversation with my parents about being queer.
Okay.
I just show up, right? Like my mom just walked into my house. I just heard her walk into my house,
Yeah.
greeted by one of my partners, right?
Yeah.
Because this is my house. And just like she had full autonomy about what she did in her house,
Hmm.
even when her mama was alive, I have the same full autonomy. And my parents, in large part due to their faith, right? They have a huge ethos of love, right?
Yeah.
So they're not agreeing with my life choices as in so much as I don't need them to support them. Their opinion of my life choices are just that,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And I think that one of the things that happens with a lot of people is that they feel like they have to explain themselves.
Hmm.
I don't have to explain myself.
That's awesome. And you're very fortunate.
And I think I very much agree with you. I'm so much like that with my mom too. Like, I'm doing what I do. And you can ask me questions if you like, and I'll answer them if you like, but I'm not going to like offer the explanation. Like, you see what you see. I always say my mama on my Facebook. This is the only Facebook page I got. So she see what I be posting.
I tell people all the time, I was like,
You follow me on Instagram too.
there's only one Chaneé, right? There is literally one Chaneé. I have one Facebook, I have a professional page, and I have two Instagrams only because one I share a lot of my child, right?
Mhm.
And I just think that especially Black people, because of the way that we have been raised with an ethos to be close to our families. There's a lot of like generational healing that we need to do around the difference between what does closeness with boundaries look like, right? How do we maintain closeness without seeking approval?
Yeah. I think as I'm thinking about what both of y'all just conveyed about how your parents, they just, you just showed up and they just accepted it. I think the difference between y'all and my situation is that I was in a monogamous marriage and we had like this whole, supportive, ecosystem around our children and their grandparents and a life that was like a certain way. And then here I come all of a sudden shaking things up
Mhm.
because I came into this understanding about myself later in life after I was already married in a monogamous marriage. So
I'm sure that
therefore,
my parents assumed that I was monogamous when I got married too.
mhm. Well,
Like,
also, but y'all stayed together, through the
mhm.
transition, whereas
Yeah.
they loved my ex-wife and loved my ex-wife as well, and her parents loved me. And so when that all went down, there was a lot of feelings. And so that's why I think my mom, I say all that to say, you made a good point, about your parents' ethos through their religion. My mother also is a very, very much so staunchly Christian, but she walks it in that love space as well, and I'm so grateful for that because it took one conversation with my mom, literally one
Mhm.
conversation with my mom, and I led that conversation with mom. This is because I have the capacity to love,
Mhm.
beyond just the confines of a monogamous marriage, and I have the capacity and the desire and the need, to love freely in this way. And my mom understood that language because she
Yes.
leads her life with love. So
Right.
she really,
I'm not a Christian.
hmm
But when I meet Christians who are not, who are actual followers of Christ and
yeah,
who believe that love is the biggest commandment, those are the people with whom that I can find common ground, right?
Definitely.
indeed,
And so I am happy that I think my parents recognize the values that they instilled in me,
Yep.
hmm
that actually they see me living those values. And so I think
yeah.
that's where we're able to like have common ground.
And I love that you said it that way because I'm literally still living those values. And my mom saw that instantly and she was able to connect with it. And that's why we were able to like move through it and past it. And she just understood and she just started like being my biggest supporter, even when I was getting so much pushback from, my in-laws at the time, my ex-wife at the time, my dad at the time. My dad, oof, that was a whole nother thing where I literally had to just like sever communication with him for over a year because of the ways he was coming at me and in his mind trying to have some type of intervention. And it was crazy, but he's come around to acceptance over time as well. And ultimately, everyone has, like, even my former in-laws who are now have both transitioned and are deceased, but before they did, they came back around to welcoming me, into their home and, through my co-parenting duties, etc. And I'm really grateful that all those relationships were able to heal. And even my ex-wife as well, my current co-parent, has come to a place of acceptance that I could have never imagined as well over time. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I will definitely say that there is nothing about the way my polyamorous life that has worked out that I could have anticipated at the beginning, right?
Mhm.
And I never want to make it seem like it's not that I didn't have a whole bunch of fears, but
Yeah.
my commitment to living a life that aligned with my values was
Mhm.
stronger than my fear.
I love it.
And so I'm always like showing people this. Where's my tattoo? Oh, there it is. It's like the like turned around, but I have this is my like life motto that I always value love over fear, right? And I think I have this concept that every single decision that we make is ultimately a decision between are we going to choose love or are we going to choose fear?
Hmm.
Mhm.
Right? Like whether it's love for ourselves, love for our community, love for our children.
Yeah.
And so a lot of my journey in polyamory has been learning to center what love for myself looks like and how having love for myself radiates to my ability to love other people.
Hmm.
Yeah. So let's transition to talking about your like your current dynamics, your current relationship dynamics a little bit more. Um, you touched on a few things, but I want to know, like, how do you identify? Like, we
Okay.
have all these different terms out here in the polyamorous world, like solo poly, RA, which is relationship anarchy, hierarchy based, egalitarian, nested, parallels, kitchen table. Can you give us any insights into like any of those things that identify with
Absolutely.
and the ways that
Yes,
you navigate your relationships?
absolutely. So I am a a relationship anarchist in all of the ways, right?
Mm,
And I am a proud relationship anarchist because the most important relationships in my life, the most long-lasting relationships in my life, the ones that I value the most of them are not romantic or sexual, right? And
okay.
so my huge ethos around relationship anarchy, it's not like you have relationship anarchy over here, right? And then you also have like non-hierarchical polyamory. And the reason why I very much am a relationship anarchist is because it's not just about not having a hierarchy within my romantic relationships, but I really assign no additional weight to relationships that have romantic and or sexual elements.
Right.
Um, and so it's good that now, as far as how I arrange my relationships,
Mhm.
if I were currently I'm in one romantic relationship. If I were in multiple romantic relationships, my desire for my partners is to be willing and desirous of sharing space, right? That's what I want.
Yeah.
When you start bringing other people into a situation, you always have their independent desires that have to also be weighted, right? But one of the decisions that I have made from my life is that there is not enough of me to segment, right? So for anyone who wants to be in the kinds of relationship that involves joining our lives together in any meaningful way, that
Hmm.
will require for me there a willingness to also um, have independent relationships with my partners, right?
Hmm.
That's what I want for my life,
Yeah.
right? Now,
Yeah.
as my partners choose other partners, the only my baseline is that I treat metamors with the same neutrality as I treat coworkers.
Yeah.
Right. So I meet you. We are obviously on the same team already.
Right.
Everyone starts at 100,
Hmm.
right? You start at 100. And then the way that our interpersonal relationship develops from there is going to be solely based on the way that we relate interpersonally.
Right.
Some people may be friends, it's like when you go to work, right?
Yeah.
You do projects with some people, and you're like you meet your forever people. I've met some forever people at work, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you meet people who you wouldn't talk to outside that building,
Right.
right? But either way, the way that we interact within this space for me is always going to be with a level of cordiality and working towards a common goal.
Yeah. I love it. I love that analogy as well. Um, how many partners? I want to really detail something you said, but I want to start with asking how many partners do you have?
Um, so I refer to monogamous people as muggles because fuck J.K. Rowling, but also love the terminology. So if I were talking to a muggle, I would say that I have three partners.
Okay.
I am raising a child with three other people,
Okay.
and as a result, their well-being is absolutely critical to my life.
I love it. So three partners, and the partnership element that I hear you
Mhm.
naming is the raising of a child is what anchors you all into partnership. They're not just partners because, it's synonymous with boyfriend, girlfriend. They're
Correct.
partners because you truly are partnered on something in life. Is
When
that
I say partner, that means we are doing something together, right? That's one of the ways I know
Yes.
you, Sunjata, you and I have talked about that word partner. And I'm like,
Yes.
well, what are we partner doing? Right? Because
Yes. That's
I
important
value
to
the
me.
term boyfriend and girlfriend as well. And I think sometimes you're just like, what we doing together is dating,
Yeah.
right? But my partnerships, there are three people that I am well, there's more than three people, but when it comes to our family,
Hmm.
there for the past 10 years, we've been wearing the same matching pajamas. But y'all wore
Hmm.
my matching pajamas last year. But you know what I mean? Like that's the thing. Like our wagons are tied together in
Yeah.
a lifetime way because
Yeah.
we've decided to raise this child together. Now, all of these people, all four of the people in my polycule, I have been romantically involved with them at some point.
Hmm.
Those relationships, although long lasting in polyamory world, have transitioned, right?
Yeah.
So one of my co-moms and I were in a relationship for 5 years. And then we were in a relationship for 8.5 years,
Right.
right? And so for me, those kinds of long lasting relationships, especially when added with the choice and responsibility of raising a child and children together,
Hmm.
that's forever.
Yeah.
That's when you see me, you see them.
Yeah. Yeah, and
That's
I love that you were able to parse out, like, I have one romantic relationship at this time. And one of the beauties about adopting that relationship anarchist like mindset, and one of the reasons I've adopted it as well, is because it just speaks to the fact that all relationships have value in some context, and they don't have to be all or nothing.
right.
One of the things that I think causes harm in our society is that all or nothing mindset when it comes to, relationships. And,
It's
that,
emotionally lazy. That's why people do it.
okay.
It's emotional laziness, right? Complexity is difficult to navigate,
Mm,
but
true.
it's worth it, right? And
It is.
some people do have, people identify on the scale of non-monogamy. I tell people often, I believe that the spectrum from like, let's say, swinging to relationship anarchy,
Hmm.
it's all about the level of complexity that you're willing to navigate.
Or I guess your capacity to hold.
Right. And for me, and some people have a smaller capacity and a
Yep.
smaller willingness, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And my belief is that the more ventured, the more gained,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And some people are okay with venturing less and gaining less. And I absolutely respect that. Um,
And what I like to say too, oh, go ahead. Go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, it's one of the things that I find like hypocritical when people say, I want community. Why can't I have community? Where's my community? But at the same time, whenever like a relationship, they learn that certain elements of a romantic relationship aren't aligned and they just start discarding people, you look around, you don't have community. Like you can't have both. You can't be in this like all or nothing mindset and then look around like, where's my community? Because
right.
oftentimes when we, develop initially develop a relationship with someone based on the context of romance because we like something about them, we're attracted to certain elements about them, and then later we learn that maybe it's not aligned where it can sustain long term. There was something that could still be held on to, with that person that would help you build that community, something that y'all did vibe on, something you did love about each other and like about each other. So I just always kind of find it, I'll say, interesting when people have this discarding mindset if they can't have everything in a person and they wonder why they look around and wonder why they don't have community.
I think lots of people also hold on to romantic things because they are scared they're going to lose the person or because they can't go back to not being romantic. And that's because we have this idea of romantic exceptionalism. We think that romance is just this thing. And to this day, I've been looking for what is it? What is romance?
And
Because
the
people
re
say you can have romance without sex and sex without romance. And I'm like, okay,
oh,
so
I can
somebody
define
define it.
romance for you in a way that's gonna blow your mind.
Okay, I'm ready.
Romance is an intentional effort to make my life a better place.
Do friends not do that too?
Absolutely. I
So
don't
that
have
then you're romantic with your friends.
all of my oh baby, all of my relationships are romantic. I am an incredibly romantic person.
So
I
for
don't feel
you, like romance and platonic can like exist in the same place. I think a lot of people won't would not agree with you. I actually agree with you that
Mhm.
friendships can be romantic, but I think a lot of people would say no, those two things are not. And it's because of romantic exceptionalism.
Hmm.
I agree
Yeah,
with you.
I think that if you polled my friends, they would probably say that our relationships are largely non-sexual but romantic, right? Because for me, romance is I knew you were coming, so I had your favorite chips, right? It could also be I knew you were having a bad day, so I sent your favorite flowers, right? It could be something as simple as it's a really long walk to catch an Uber from the airport, so I'm going to pick you up. Like all of those things register as romantic for me, right?
Okay.
Romance, I think our system, again, emotional laziness, pairs romance and sex,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because you can also experience sexual attraction to somebody without romantic attraction,
Yeah.
right? And so what happens is because people pair romance and sex, they try to have romantic relationships with everybody they're sexually attracted to.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it don't work.
Some relationships just need to be sexual, baby.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh my goodness. And that's one of the benefits that I've gain being in this space is understanding those little nuances and those complexities in that way and be able to name these relational dynamics in this way. And I think it has made me so much more, relationally mature, open-minded, and able to navigate relationships and cause less harm. And ultimately, I love having these conversations out loud because I feel like whether you're monogamous or non-monogamous, understanding these nuances will allow you to show up in relationships in ways that cause less harm. And that's like my ultimate thing. I want to be in a space where I'm contributing that's causing less harm to one another. And another thing I'll say is like romantic exceptionalism in those ways, it erases like um I'm sorry, exceptionalism and the combination of sex to romance, it erases asexual people and
Mhm.
people on that, that spectrum of
It
asexuality.
also doesn't allow any flow between the two, right? Black and white thinking, there are people for whom our relationships exist in the middle of all of those places, right? Is
Yeah.
this relationship romantic? Sometimes. Is it sexual? Sometimes. You know what I
Thank
mean? Like, and
you.
so it depends on what day, what season am I ovulating? Like, what kind of questions, right?
Right, right.
So I again, I don't judge people who choose to have those staunch lines.
Yeah.
But my coaching and my work with people, and this is how I always explain people the difference between coaching and therapy, right? When in coaching, I am coaching you towards a goal. So when you sit down in a session with me, I'm always going to ask you, what is your ultimate goal? Right. So then when you tell me about the ways that you move, I'm going to ask you, is this way of moving aligned with your goals? Right? So if you are cutting off people, if you have a romantic relationship and you cut them off and you never want to see them again, you never want to talk to them again, but you also want to exist in community.
Hmm.
In a place like Atlanta, if you avoid everywhere your ex is, you can't go nowhere.
Yeah. Facts.
So how does that work with your goals?
Right.
I love how you like talk about the fluidity of relationships. I like really crave that. I really am attracted to people who are not staunch with their relationship lines. So I really appreciate that point of view that you bring in. Can you tell us a little bit more about your coaching and like what you do and like, let us like we trying to see if people might be interested?
Absolutely. So, I have a couple of ways of working with me. One of my most popular ways has been the intentional polyamory cohort, and that is a place where we learn in community, right? So, the minimum number for a cohort is 12, the maximum is 20. It is an 8-week process where we enter into a little bubble. We start with decolonizing our minds around what relationships are supposed to be, what monogamy is, what non-monogamy is, and what is okay, what is right. So many of the struggles that people have when they're trying to be polyamorous is because they are bringing monogamous ways of being into non-monogamous relationships, and they're
Mm,
always it's going to be a consistent struggle, right?
mhm.
So we start with decolonizing, and we work our way through the 4 pillars of intentional relating to create a life from the ground up that supports the kinds of relationships that we want, right? If you want to be, for instance, perfect example, and this is something I tell people all the time, they don't think about. I like to pull out and bring out like a really holistic view, right? Let's say you want to be you want to have an egalitarian polyamorous relationship, but you live with one other person in a one-bedroom apartment. That choice, right? That choice does not create the logistical framework to have the kind of relationships that you want for your life, right? So, as we work through the pillars, we really think about what choices can I make? What ways can I shift the ways that I move so that the kinds of relationships that I want can thrive, right? Like some couples have realized that a lot of the relationships, as some of the couples that I work with have realized that calendar sharing, right? It's always so crazy to me as a polyamorous person when I meet people who like don't use calendars.
Hmm.
And it's mind-boggling. And I'm like, you
Right.
could just and then there's people who are like, well, I don't feel like I should have to make dates with my partner. And I'm like, well, doesn't anybody else who wants to date you have to make dates? Like, why shouldn't Where's the difference, right? And
Hmm.
and these are people who have like a egalitarian desire, right? And I'm so like make the calendar, right? Send a
Yeah,
calendar request. You don't have to decide what you want to do. You can just say, I want time, right? So basically that it's this 8-week container where we really dive deep into what your life looks like, what you want your life to look like, and ways that you can shift to support non-monogamous relationships.
That's
I
cool.
also
Like 8 weeks.
uh
That's good.
yeah, so the next intentional polyamory cohort, I've been very, very busy with my first baby, which is one-to-one coaching and coaching polycules and couples. And so I am spending the summer, I'm doing a lot of traveling this summer, and a lot of personal projects. So I'm spending the summer really working one-on-one with a lot of coaching clients, which I love to do. I love the shifts and the growth that I can see as I work one-on-one with people. So my personal niche is navigating change, right? So that could look like uncoupling. That could look like going from a romantic relationship to a co-parenting relationship. That could look like going from a from a monogamous relationship to a non-monogamous relationship. But I've really been enjoying helping people and guiding them through the process of what it looks like to overlay these processes that can be traumatic
sure.
with like an intentionality and a love that somehow that is often missing from those processes.
Love it. Love it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And where can people find you if they're interested in learning more about these programs?
So I am Chaneé Speaks all over the internet. I think I'm Chaneé Speaks anywhere you can find me on social media.
Okay,
And my link tree is in all of my bios, but I'll also give it to you guys so y'all can put it in the show notes as well.
will do. Thank you. You took the words out of my mouth because that's what I was going to say next. So we like to close out our interview shows with a sunshine and rainbow story, which is a play on our, show title,
SunShan.
Sunshine and
Okay.
Rainbows. So we're going to ask you, what's your sunshine and rainbow story, which is a time in your polyamory journey when you endured some challenges, that's the rain, and
Hmm.
then later, after some time had passed and things improved, you gained some perspective, that's the sunshine,
Okay.
and you were able to recognize the lessons or areas of growth, which is the rainbow. So, do you
Perfect.
have a sunshine and rainbow story you could share briefly?
I absolutely do. Absolutely do. So I think that it would center around the relationship that I have had with one of my co-parents, and she was my first long-term loving woman relationship, right? We were together for 5 years, and I met her when I was engaged to be married, and we fell madly in love. She was by my side as I got married. We were in NRE on on my honeymoon, like that. Like she was waiting on me when I got home from my honeymoon. So it was a very like that intense. My first U-Haul, right? And so she actually moved in with us. She moved in with my husband and
You
I
go for real.
11 months after we got married and when we were expecting our child.
Mhm.
And we've lived together for 10 years. So 5 years into that journey, um, our romantic relationship ended. And I was heartbroken. And I was sure that our family was over, right? Like she's gonna have to move out and we are gonna hate each other and the life that I wanted for my son is over.
Mhm.
Um, and our breakup happened in fall of 2019. I provide that context because we all know what happened in 2020, right?
Yeah,
So COVID happened in 2020 and wasn't shit changing
yeah,
because I don't know if we're gonna die if we go outside, right?
right.
So not only were we broken up, but then we were stuck in the house together for 18 months.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. My goodness.
So
Oh, I know
we
that
talking
feeling.
about we talking about rain, right? And
Oh,
it was never like a active anger or any type of it was not negative. It was just sad and
mm-hmm.
awkward,
Mm,
right? And I am so the rainbow there is that I if in that 6 to 9 months after our breakup, you never could have told me that we would continue living together, that we would be best friends, that she
mm,
would continue to be my first call.
Mm.
And that I would be able to stand in a place where I'm like, when you see me, you see her. And that's it, right? Like
Uh,
I thought that there would be a anytime I think you experience a relational break or a relational transition, I think it's in our nature to assume the worst, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm now in a place where, because I've experienced lots of relational transitions and seen the best, right? I now am in a place where I don't have to assume the worst anymore. And I can, in the season where shit just sucks,
Mm.
right? Because after a
Mhm.
breakup, it's just, there's something that's going to feel yucky and sucky.
Yeah.
But I can stay in that place now and know that the rainbow is there, right? And
Yeah.
so just really by prioritizing what our priorities, right? Our priority was our family. We wanted to make sure that we were moving in love. We wanted
Mhm.
to I call it like a time where I had to live my values, right? So I say that community is important, that family is important, that I'm a relationship anarchist.
Yep.
So I couldn't act like my life was over because the romantic relationship was over.
Right.
And so she remains one of my best friends
I
and
love it.
we live together. So
I
that
love it.
will, and even if those things shift, I'm confident that we have built a foundation where we can continue to transition into what works for us at the time.
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. That's a really good example of your tattoo also, because when we expect the worst, it's because of fear. That's why we're expecting the worst, because we're fearful. So it's like really beautiful to see that you chose love over fear. It's really
Right.
Indeed.
sweet.
And a
Indeed.
lot of times too, we choose fear because we've never seen anyone else do it,
Of
right?
course.
And so
Yeah.
that's why conversations like this are important
Yeah.
because you seeing that someone besides you has done it and that
Mm-hmm.
you can talk to somebody and someone can help you and coach you through it.
Yep.
Is sometimes you just need a possibility model. So
Uh-huh.
Yes. Yes.
that's why
Yes.
I do what I do.
Yeah, and we're making this up as we go along, you know, in a lot of ways, because like you said, none of this was modeled for us. And then even for people racialized as Black, especially like you mentioned earlier, when we came into the space, it was just people racialized as white and their experiences and books about their lives and their
Right.
experiences and movies, et cetera. So
So we're writing the books right now. People are like, "What should I
yeah,
read?" I'm like, "I haven't written the book yet, but I'm working on it." That that's
exactly.
that's really the answer. Like that's all I got.
Exactly. Exactly. So, wow, thank you, Chaneé. This has been amazing. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, being so vulnerable and transparent about your life experiences, and also just sharing those things to elevate others in the ways that you coach and
Yeah.
lead and hold space for other people and just showing up in conversations like this, you know, just not keeping all those lessons to yourself, but sharing it with the larger, you know, polyamorous community. So I'm so grateful for you and you're a treasure in this space. And just want to give you your flowers and let you know that you're so appreciated.
Thank you. I appreciate the invitation and I really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, that's a wrap for this episode. We hope that you all enjoyed it. We hope that you all will connect with Chaneé on social media and that you'll join us for the next episode. So, as always, we love y'all. Peace. That's a wrap for this episode of SunShan and Rainbows. We hope today's conversation sparked some new insights, deep reflections, or just gave you a fresh perspective on love and connection.
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop us a comment, send us your questions, or share your own experiences. We might even feature them in a future episode.
And don't forget to subscribe to SunShan and Rainbows on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. And if you're vibing with us, please like, comment, share, and leave a review. It helps others find the show and keeps these conversations going.
Want more sunshine and rainbows? Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Sunshine Rainbows for daily insights, behind the scenes moments, and updates on future episodes. You can get more in depth and intellectual with us on our Substack, sustainablesolutionsmedia.com. If you like what we're saying over there, consider becoming a paid subscriber to support all our liberation and anti oppression efforts.
As always, thank you for rocking with us. We so appreciate the love and support. Until next time,
We
we
love
love y'all. Peace.